And is that permanent?
Glenn Hoddle was another one with England. He was just starting to play three at the back in a different system. Rio Ferdinand was about to just starting to come through. And I think if they had have stuck with Glenn, then I think it would have been a lot more successful.
With those players that we had with the Beckham and Scholes and all that young group, what we had was more than good enough. And then if we could have moved on a bit more, then you've got Lampard and Gerrard and whatever you think. Oh, he needs a great goal scorer. That we had players who could have made a mark. And I think under Glenn Hoddle, instead of the Sven and then we went with Capello, because Glenn Hoddle was really, when we was in England, he demanded that when we trained, it had to be top draw training. Everything, he demanded the best out of you at every training session. And that's what I remembered about Glenn Hoddle. He would not take anything second best, and that is what we need.
He's probably better than half the players anyway at that age. Glenn was anyway in training.
So Sam when he passed the ball, did he ever do it in training? Just because he hit it.
It was embarrassing, wasn't it? We were doing the warm-ups, we used to have these stupid little games of keep-ups and head and shoulders and what. Glenn was better than anyone. I think it was incredible.
There was one session where Beckham was he wanted Beckham to put this cornering just over the front man, and he hit the front man a couple of times, and Glenn Hoddle went and done it 3 times in the place where it wanted to go. And I feel that's why there was a couple of people who didn't like him, because of what he demanded and what he was capable of doing, just to show that it can be done. He used to say things like, "You're the 23 best players I can pick, and you can't do this session." I remember he put in sessions where you'd be in a square, 25, like 20 yards, that square one, and like I'd see Sol Campbell start shitting himself. Sol Campbell's got feet like that fucking blue guy out of X-Men. So when you see the ball going in, and then you have to catch it and volley over there. I used to love all that stuff because it's a test, and you're with the best. And that's what you should be able to do.
You were telling us something today about volleying, how when you went, it's a bit of digression, but when you went to MK Dons, how the track teachers put the ball in the net and they couldn't do it.
Because it's really strange, because like I remember, you try to do sessions where you make it intricate, where they have to move and turn and then finish it and that, and we're dealing with the second division at the time, or something like that, the first division, whatever it was, and in the end you literally have to go back to the basics. And this is why I couldn't coach at that level, because what I done was I literally, I showed out on the penalty spot, from the penalty spot in, I'd just throw the ball to them, and I'd say just volley it to hit the back of the net. Get used to hitting the back of the net wherever.
No bounce.
No bounce. It has to hit the back of the net, and they couldn't do it. And you know what I mean? It was. They'd throw it to me, and I'd do a couple, and I would do it, and I thought to myself, this is where you hear players like who are meant to be great players who can't get the best out of you because they can't coach them. And I felt pretty sad about it, because I didn't know what to do to enable them to be able to do that, apart from going back to the basics, and they themselves have to want to go back to the basics to actually get better.
Well, presumably an England manager really isn't there to teach you all technique. He's there to manage you to win a tournament.
You coach at whatever level you're at. If you're a good coach, you can still coach people at whatever level you're at. No one's ever exempt from learning.
Now you both like Gareth Southgate, from your time at Palace, certainly at the start off, you played internationally. Is he up to this job?
Yeah, I think so, simply because he's somebody that when it comes to preparation and meticulous preparation, he will not leave any stone unturned. Whether or not, like we say, our team's good enough to go the course is it's a whole different story. But if we're talking about preparation to be ready to try and go into a tournament where we need to beat Tunisia and Panama, and then obviously it's going to come down to Belgium, I believe that he'll be prepared for those games.
I'm pleased we've got an Englishman, and I'm pleased that it's someone who's been in major tournaments.
Yeah.
I like Gareth. He's a very, very good guy. He's very professional. Talks very well to the media, which is hugely important, rightly or wrongly, in our country because of the demands that you guys put on him and other England managers, and the same that we do now in the TV studio.
Not as much as they do, but I don't.
Do you think he's got the strength of character? I don't think it
Yeah,
possibly
he's strong.
comes over
He's
to
strong.
everybody.
He's a strong character. It's just that if you get to know him, he's a very strong character.
With an edge?
Yeah, with an edge, and if he needs to make a big decision, the whole country was kept on asking him about Wayne Rooney. Why are you doing this, Rooney? And he was under huge pressure to continue to play. He left him out.
Absolutely.
And he had the balls to do that. And if he needs to make a big decision at this tournament, then without doubt he'll be able to do that. It just comes down to ability, and that's if we I don't think it won't be lack of preparation if we don't make it in this tournament. It won't be his lack of experience. It'll be because of lack of ability in our squad.
And the fact that he can say people like Smalling and Kane and that, he will tell them, he leave them out. Leave them out. Experienced players who's played at that level, he leave them out because they're not going to do what he believes he needs to be done.
What would your advice be for the players going to this tournament? We're approaching the World Cup. What's their mindset got to be?
Well, if you're lucky, you get to play in a World Cup. You might play in one World Cup if you're lucky, right? I was incredibly fortunate to do that. So you've got, if you're lucky, you've got 5 weeks out of your life. 5 weeks out of your life. Just dedicate that fact. Forget everything that's going on back at home. Forget your missus. Forget everything. You're there to try and win the World Cup for your country. And that's 5 weeks of your life that you can dedicate and give 100% to, and do nothing else other than eat, sleep, breathe football. And if it's not good enough, then at least you can come away and say, I tried my very best and give it all. I'm not sure that's happened in the past with England teams, and I hope it happens this tournament.
Well, we hear so much about them. They get bored, they can't handle it, they find it difficult being away. That's an England thing. You constantly
how would you get bored when you're on 200 grand a week and you play for your country in the World Cup? That doesn't happen. It's not allowed. If you're going to get bored, don't bother going.
Yeah.
It's not. I mean, you've got the best services, you've got the best hotel, you've got the best food, you're being paid the best wages, you've got the best of everything, right? So don't say to me you might get bored.
Yeah, but they ship in everything as well. They ship in all those games that they play. You know, they do. You literally, they'll have a room the size of this room here with every single game that those guys play. It's not like they've got everything. Jesus Christ! I can't believe that can be bored.
And in your hotel room, you've got companies that are chucking stuff at you for free of charge. You don't want for anything. If you're an England player going to a World Cup, you've got everything. I mean, whether it's a wash bag or bags or boots or kit or whatever it is, clothes, you've got it waiting for you in your room.
Pay-per-view. Brilliant.
You don't even have to pay for it.
That's the thing. You don't have to pay for pay-per-view. You don't have to pay for your phone calls. Jesus Christ, it's like being like God's son, just walking around.
You obviously had a lot of characters when you were going off on the trips, and you probably kept each other amused. I'm not sure whether this group of players has that sort of ability to maybe keep each other entertained. Maybe.
You know, when you look at the way the players are now, and even when they come off the coach and you watch them together, you don't see a lot of interaction and rapport. You don't see that. The squads that I played, there's characters, and everybody was strong characters. It was a laugh, it was banter driven, it was brilliant. I'm not sure if the players in the current club, they're like that. They're not like that. They're very much, it's Instagram and it's social media. They're all like that all the time. They're not interacting with each other. They're not talking to each other. They're not bonding. That's what we're going to need at some stage in the world. There's going to have to be some form of bonding, what gets the guys together. Like, I'm not saying that the guys never had in '96 social media now, but I think that the dentist chair in Hong Kong, when everybody was slaughtering the boys, brought the guys together. I'm not saying that these guys need to do something like that, but something has to bring the guys together where
you may have seen
I really wish I was there. Oh Oh God!
Did you notice when they had the dentist chair incident, there were loads of pictures everywhere of the players and Sherry and all that. Alan, not in any of the pictures, but you were there,
I
weren't
was
you?
there. I was hiding.
Would you like to explain to everybody how it came
No,
down?
I just saw. I was speaking to one of my friends in the corner of the bar, and I was in the bar because there was a load of us who broke the curfew just for that. Because when our last night, I thought it was our second last night anyway. The tournament had gone for training, and the matches had gone well. And Terry had said, "Go and have a few drinks." And then all of a sudden, I think I seen Robbie Fowler and Steve McManaman and Gazza starting to rip each other's shirts off. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I was like, we've got a tournament in England, the European Championship, and England players are in this dentist chair with a bottle of vodka and their shirts off, mixing with their fans. Can you imagine?
And you're the captain.
The uproar. Well, I wasn't the captain then, but I was.
Tony Adams was on there.
That's why they did it. That's why we did it. We have those two.
Is it right that Dennis Rice was put in an overhead locker on the plane back?
Guys, I smashed the TV screen on the only British Airways, so who gives a shit anyway?
You want to hear his tales of war on British Airways when you travel first?
No, it was Gazza broke the TV in front of him, and wisely claimed he was put in the overhead locker. He was in there, but I'm not sure he was put in there. I think it's a huge tournament for Harry Kane, because he's been spoken about in glowing terms, and for myself included, I'm a huge fan of his. But he nosedived like the rest of the England players 2 years ago. He's had 3 brilliant seasons now, and it's been 2 golden boots he's had. He's going for another one, unlikely to get it this season again. So it's a tournament that he can't afford to fail in, because he's had so much hype, and rightly so. And if he were to perform again like he performed in the last one, then he would find himself under huge pressure. He won't be taking any corners like he did in the last tournament, which should help him. But for him, I think it's a massive tournament, because if he wants to get to the next level, and for people to continue to talk about Real Madrid or wherever he wants, then he has to perform in a major tournament and do it in a major tournament. And as yet, he hasn't. Of course, he hasn't done that.
Have we actually got any chance in this World Cup, do you think?
Of winning it?
Yeah, of winning it.
Yeah. Now there's that gin on.
I sort it out.
You know something. What you've got to hope is that we get through the stage. You can't think any more than that. I mean, people like Brazil, people like Germany. Those are the countries that go there expecting to win it. To a certain extent, Argentina, I haven't got the team to do it, but those are the teams we are expected to go there and do a lot better than we've done. I don't think that us getting out of the group and getting past the first knockout game is too much to ask for players in the Premier League. You see on a weekly basis play some decent stuff. I just think that it will come down to, again, if they do start well, whether they can deal with the hype that's going to come with that and the pressure. I think I was absolutely bang on with Harry Kane. He's somebody that people will be looking at, because if he can nick a few goals in the World Cup, then people will see him as the real deal. They will.
If you look at, let's start from the back and work our way forwards. Let's start with the goalkeeper, where he's either going to play Butland or Pickford. Neither have got experience. One of them's just been relegated. Let's go with the 3 centre-halves.
Fucking hell, really, Al? You're gonna do this, Al? It's so depressing.
3 centre-halves.
Okay,
He probably looks like he's going to play maybe Walker as a 3rd centre-half. Who are the other 2 other ones? One of them will be John Stones. Hardly played for the last 4 or 5 months at all. Team not good enough to be in Manchester City's team. There's no disgrace in that. And Harry Maguire.
Yeah. I wouldn't mind playing against that. What you have to look at is what I was saying is totally right, because you look at the top players in the world and they'll see Harry Maguire, they'll see John Stones, who hasn't played, and you see you see Carl Walker, who's a right fullback playing centre half, who's going to get the ball forward to, if it's Lingard, if it's
Dyer might be another one.
See, so we're going to play 2. So Shelby, Maybe Shelby, huh? And I'm only saying that because I'm in here, let's face it. You know what, if John Joe Shelby, let's say Tunisia, they're a little bit of an unknown quantity to us, same as Panama. I know that Panama are very physical, they're just going to have a kick us about and try and kick us about, but if you're going to bring, I wouldn't be adverse to bringing him simply because against teams like that, we need to get the ball forward and hurt teams in the final third. He's the person that when I've seen John Joe, not only can he do the long balls, but he'll try to pass it through areas where some people like Henderson and Dyer are not so keen on taking the chance to pass it where John Joe will do that because he's got that kind of look in his face like he doesn't care, he's like this. So it's one of those situations where I like him. I like him simply because he's not afraid to do that. And that's what we're going to need because we can't have Henderson and Dyer against teams like Tunisia and Panama. What we need to be going, we need to win those two games. So we're going to need to get the ball in an area where we're going to get, whether it's Lingard or Rashford or Kane or Sterling, whoever it is, we've got to get the ball to them as soon as possible so as we can hurt teams.
Having said all of that, right, if you look 2 years ago, two teams of the European Championships who stood out, obviously Portugal, they had a superstar in it, they were well organised, and they went on and did what they did. And Wales, if you're well organised, if you've got a bit of heart and a bit of spirit and a bit of fight, and you've got the right attitude, and you've got a superstar on your team, then you can, and you've got the atmosphere behind you, which is the Welsh. And you don't know. You don't know. I mean, no one would have said, not many people would have said Portugal would do what they did two years ago. And Wales did what they did. And if England can get on that roll and get a bit of form, whether it could be Dele Alli or whether it can be Harry Kane, they could be England's superstar, you don't know.